Testing audio, testing movement. Looks like we are good. Hello everyone, this is Gundam Ace, aka John Hooper. I'm here with my streaming of Rebellion Secret Game Second Stage. This is sort of a re-recording because the first time I tried to record this, I choked on water about partway through, and it made it very hard for me to continue reading, so I stopped the stream early. And so I'm going to re-record the content I had already gone over, and as well as go past that this time. So yeah, but for those who are just coming from the archive version, last time we left off, well, shit really hit the fan. You know, Kotomi died, sacrificing herself to save Shuhei, and then the second stage began with Shuhei's clear condition being updated to the death of all the prime number players, and with him seeming to have gone off the deep end after Kotomi's death. So we'll see where this unfolds from here. Okay, and with that, let's get started. When she saw Shuhei pointing a gun at her, a shock ran down Yuna Toto's spine. Raindrops struck his hair and trickled down his cheek. There was no longer a hint of a smile to be found anywhere on his face.
Shuhei, honki?
Are you serious, Shuhei?
Honki da.
Yeah, I am.
でも、そんなことをしたら運営の思うつぼ。
But if you do that, you'll just be playing to the administrator's hand. But before Yuna could finish, Shuhei started pulling the trigger. Yuna rolled out of the way of the bullet right before the trigger was pulled. She didn't just dodge it. With natural movements that proved she'd had combat experience, Yuna drew her gun on Shuhei. She glared back at him with ice-cold eyes. What's with that look?
さっきも言った通り、私はできる限りたくさんの命を救いたいの。
Like I said, I want to save as many people as possible.
でもね、そのためには私も生き残る必要があるのよ。
But you know, I have to survive in order to do that. Her sorrowful words turned to an air of intimidation, filled with fierce willpower.
もう一度言うわ。周辺、あなたの力を貸して。
I'll ask you one more time, Shuhei. Help me.
それはできない。
I can't do that.
どうして？人のことはもうどうでもよくなっちゃったの？
Why? Do you just no longer care about others?
違う。さっきお前が言った言葉だよ。
No, that's not it. It's what you just said. Huh?
俺が生き残ることがことみの望み。だったらお前とはもう一緒にいられない。
You told me that Kotomi's wish was for me to survive. In that case, we can't stay together any longer.
セカンドステージに入るなり、俺のクリア条件が変わった。
My clear condition changed with the start of the second stage.
新たな条件は素数ナンバーのプレイヤー全員の死亡。お前も殺害対象に入ってるんだ。
My new clear condition is all prime number players die, and you are one of them. Yuna's face froze. Indeed, Yuna was the Jack, a prime number. Her very existence was already incompatible with Shuhei at this point. Despite that, she kept staring at him.
そう。 それなら最後に私を殺したっていい。
I see. In that case, you can kill me at the end. What?
でもせめてその時が訪れるまでは私と一緒にいて。
But at the very least, stay with me until that time comes.
たとえもうほとんどの人を救えなくなったとしても、私は一人でも多くの命を救いたい。
Even if there are many who can no longer be saved, I want to save as many as possible, even if it's just one person.
そのためにあんたの力が必要なの。お願い、周平。
I need your help for that, so please, Shuhei. In response, Shuhei rose his voice with suspicion.
お前は何を言っているんだ。最後に自分を殺してもいいからそれまで一緒にいろだと。
What the hell are you talking about? You don't mind me killing you at the end, yet you ask me to stay with you until then?
そんな言葉信じられるわけがないだろう。お前の狙いは何だ。
Who the hell would believe something like that? What are you after?
狙いなんかないわ。私は本気よ。だから。
Nothing. I'm being serious, so please... Just then, you noticed a shadow at the edge of her eye. Something had grazed Yuna's gun. Someone had barged in on the two of them. Yuna quickly regained her grip on her gun, glared into the darkness. Just then, Shuhei's gun fired again. A stone where Yuna had been standing just a short while ago was smashed into tiny pieces.
周平、やめて。私の話を聞いて。
Shuhei, stop! Listen to me!
悪いが聞く気はない。
Sorry, but I've no intention to. Faced with a mysterious assailant in the woods and Shuhei shooting, Yuna grit her teeth. But now wasn't the time for regrets. Yuna moved away from the direction of her assailant, circled around Shuhei, slowly closing the distance. In Shuhei's case, who was still pointing his gun at her, all she had to do was set her sights on him. But no second attack had come from the mysterious assailant. As a result, she couldn't afford to carelessly close in on Shuhei, nor could she stay still. If she were only against Shuhei, it would have been possible to engage him and pin him down, but that wasn't an option here. Yuna clicked her tongue.
退散するしかないってことか。
No choice, I gotta get out of here. With her irritation running high, Yuna threw herself into a nearby bush. Immediately afterwards, Shuhei's gunshot blew off a tree branch just a few meters ahead. At this rate, Yuna wouldn't be able to protect herself no matter how hard she tried. So she sprinted away, crouching and darting behind trees to make her flight. On her way back to the mountain hut, Yuna heaved a great sigh.
どうしていつもこうなっちゃうのかしら。
Why does it always turn out this way?
リピーターとして潜入した意味がまるでないじゃない。
It's like I became a repeater all for nothing. Repeater. A player who'd participated and survived a past game and been intentionally mixed into this game by the organizers. Some sought the prize money for winning the game. Others sought the thrill of the most dangerous game there was. Most repeaters were able to act with a huge advantage putting their previous game experience to good use. But even repeaters like them were given special rules. They were forbidden to tell other players that they were repeaters or any information about the second stage. And they were also required to fulfill their first stage clear conditions before the second stage began. But Yuna's first stage clear condition had been to survive until the last day. As though it had been made specifically to mock Yuna, who aimed to keep everyone alive and prevent the second stage from coming to pass. And the administrators of the game were likely watching Yuna's suffering with glee right now. Just like the previous game Yuna had been forced to play, the first victim had been claimed. And in the worst form possible. With this, the chain of tragedies the administrators had been awaiting was finally unfolding. Shuhei, who had just been smiling with her that very morning, had shot at her. The fact that it hadn't stemmed from betrayal only served to make Yuna that more bitter. It's no different from last time. Yuna sighed again from the detestable wave of deja vu. If they transitioned to the second stage just like last time, then she foresaw the result being more or less the same. It was easy to imagine that many of the players' clear conditions had been changed to involve harming other players. Even Yuna's own clear condition had become extremely hostile. Yuna looked at her own PDA. Render all other players' PDAs inoperable. It's changed big time again. There are 3 ways to render other players' PDAs inoperable. First of all, Yuna's PDA special function was render another player's PDA within 1 meter inoperable. By using that, she could disable other PDAs. The second way was to physically break a PDA. And the third way was to kill the owner of a PDA. But none of those would be easy, nor would any of the players be willing to accept it. Furthermore, the effects of the clear conditions turning harsh would extend to all the trust built up between teammates up to that point. From now on, everyone would have a hard time trusting one another, consumed by the paranoia that their life was in danger. Just as Yuna thought that, she grew worried as she remembered Mariko and Yui, whom she left in the hut. Knowing them, Yuna highly doubt they immediately killed one another as soon as the second stage had begun. But she didn't know what kind of changes in mentality or new conditions might have brought upon them. And Mariko's special function was particularly dangerous. If they grew suspicious of one another and something were to set her off, she could very well use it. Oops, sorry. Just at that moment, Yuna's thoughts were interrupted by a gunshot. It sounded like it came from the direction of the hut. Another gunshot followed. Something was definitely going down. Unable to keep herself still, Yuna raced for the hut. Soon enough, the hut came into view. Yuna drew her guard up and opened the door. Are you guys okay? Yuna called to her teammates, however, she received no response. They were both gone. The both of them too? But why? Even Yuna, who had already been through one game, was in disbelief. She never expected Yui and Mariko, who she felt she could trust, would vanish as soon as the second stage had begun. Yuna realized the reason a second later. Don't tell me that Mariko's condition had been to save a designated partner of her choice. But what sort of condition would that be twisted into during the second stage? Perhaps something along the lines of, kill the person you designate as your partner? It's possible. No, it's highly likely. That was precisely why the game was divided into two stages. Most of the clear conditions given during the first stage required cooperating and coexisting with other players to a certain extent. Mariko's condition had been the epitome of that. But when the second stage came, it had been flipped on its head. There were many cases where clear conditions turned into something that called for the deaths of the people they built a bond with up to that point. Which would mean that Mariko now had to act to kill Yuna, whether she wanted to or not. And so she left the hut, either because she couldn't bear that reality, or was already acting to make it happen. Yui had either chased after Mariko or was attacked by the latter and fled. Or perhaps she too was acting to kill Yuna. The possibilities were endless. And all of them reeked of blood. That's right. We're playing the most messed up killing game in the world. That wouldn't change Yuna's actions one bit. They could rewrite her condition, but not her will. Though they could very well be her enemies now, she'd find Mariko and Yui. With that determination, Yuna headed down the mountain trail. Shuhei had a dream. A dream of a distant memory from childhood. Back in the days where he was, just as tall as the girl next to him. Before he knew it, Kodomi was with him. Was always with him. Just like she always had been since the day the two of them looked up into the sky and Shuhei had accepted his mother's death. Though she couldn't go into the orphanage, she ended up following him everywhere else. He'd been embarrassed at first, but as he got used to her presence, it felt more unnatural not having her around. At different times, she was like a mother, an older sister, or a younger sister to him. she'd help him even when he didn't ask for it, rely on him on a whim, and lead him around. The old Shuhei would have likely rejected her and called her a pain. But now that he accepted his mother's death, he'd come to view her existence as necessary. And deep down, he felt that they'd always be together. Yet now, she was slowly but surely moving away. Her voice grew fainter and fainter. Where are you going? Shuhei tried calling out to her, but he didn't know what he was saying. He tried going after her. But for every step Shuhei took, Kotomi took too. Whenever he took another step, her body and voice grew even fainter. Her mouth was open, but he couldn't tell what she was saying. Though she was waving to him with a smile, that smile seemed very lonely. Kotomi, don't go! Unable to hold it in, Shuhei shouted at her. Kotomi kept smiling all the same. Shuhei reached out for her. Kotomi's face was blurry, like a reflection off ripples in the water. Shuhei stepped forward. Kotomi's face was growing smaller and smaller. Shuhei screamed her name. He called out to her over and over again. Don't leave me, Kotomi! Stay with me! Please! I'm begging you! Kotomi. But Shuhei could no longer see Kotomi. Teardrops poured out of his eyes. His tears of sorrow faded like they'd been sucked away. Day 4. When Shuhei Fujita woke up, the sky had finally begun to brighten. His wet clothes from yesterday were drying up, but his body was freezing. That chill allowed Shuhei to recognize this was reality. He sighed and stood up from the tree he'd been lying against. He staggered on over to Kotomi's grave. If this tragedy was the result of thinking everyone could be saved, then he no longer gave a damn who lived and who died. If I had a gun in my hands, I'd kill everyone I saw. He felt just like he had back when he entered the orphanage. But this time, Shuhei had a real gun. An actual tool that could rob someone of their life with a swing of the finger. Remember how you had nothing to protect back then. Remember that time you hated everyone, saw all of them as enemies. I'll kill them. There was no more room for hesitation. His clear condition was, all prime number players die. In that case, he'd survive, even if it meant killing everyone. That was the answer Shuhei had reached.
Kotomi.
Thanks for everything. And goodbye. Muttering those words in his head, Shuhei turned his back on Kotomi's grave. He left her in that place.
周平様
Master Shuhei. After walking around for a bit, Shuhei came across the maid. She gave Shuhei a graceful bow and looked at him with eyes full of expectation.
出発されるのですね
You are setting out, are you not?
よろしければ私もお連れいただけないでしょうか
If it is all right by you, may I accompany you? Shuhei didn't respond. He just calmly observed Hitomi's actions. Hitomi Kasuya's player number was 2. She was a prime numbered player, and therefore one of Shuhei's targets. He couldn't kill her easily in a straight-up battle, but if he took her by surprise now, he might be able to finish her off. However,
私は主が命じるのであればどのようなご命令でも必ず遂行いたします
just say the word, and I swear I will carry out any order you give.
武器も治りましたお望みとあらば参加者全員を皆殺しにしてご覧に入れます
I have prepared my weapon, too. I will kill every other player if you so desire.
ですからどうか私のことを必要としてください
So please, I humbly ask that you use me as you need to. Kill all the other players. Hitomi, that could very well be possible. Judging from her fight with Kurokawa and Mitsuru, along with Shuhei's own clash with her, she seemed to be one of the strongest players there were. If Shuhei were to use Hitomi as a pawn, that wouldn't be a bad agreement. He would be at a great advantage by making her his disposable pawn. However, that was only if she didn't betray him.
俺はお前を信用していない。
I don't trust you.
周平様のご信頼に足らないことを恥ずかしく思います
It is to my great shame that I have failed to acquire your trust.
ですが機会をいただけるようでしたらあなた様への忠誠を証明してみせます
But if you would just grant me the opportunity, I shall prove my loyalty to you.
だったらお前のクリア条件を教えろ。
Then tell me your clear condition. From what Shuhei had found out earlier, her condition should have been, don't stay in the same area for more than 12 hours. Now they'd gone to the second stage, they'd all been set back to square one. The new clear conditions were the most important information there was. Knowing them was literally a matter between life and death. Revealing them was not something that could be done lightly anymore.
俺の信頼が欲しいなら答えられるだろう。
If you want my trust, you can tell me, can't you?
はいお安いご用でございます
Yes, it is but a trifling request. Hitomi bowed courteously and showed her PDA to Shuhei. She hadn't hesitated for a second. Though baffled by her actions, Shuhei took her PDA and looked at the screen.
2時間以上同じエリアにとどまるな。
Don't stay in the same area for more than 12 hours. For 2 hours. For more than 2 hours, huh? At first glance, it appeared to simply be a harsher version of her first stage clear condition. But not being able to stay in the same area for more than 2 hours meant you couldn't get more than 2 hours of sleep. It wasn't clear how many more days the game would last. Having such limited time to sleep in a situation where your life could be in danger at any moment would likely do a real number on one's mental state. The second stage clear conditions really were a world apart from the first stages.
俺の命令には全て従うんだ。
You obey all my orders, right?
はい
Yes.
この先何が起きても俺を裏切らないと誓えるか。
Do you swear never to betray me, no matter what happens after this?
はい。
Yes.
分かった。それならついてこい。
Alright. Then come with me.
はい。ありがとうございます。
Yes. Thank you so much. Tomi was beside herself with joy. She could have hoped for no better answer than that. Her cheeks flushed, and she beamed as she bowed elegantly.
今後周平様はクリア条件を満たすために行動されるのだと思います。
I believe that we should work from this point onwards to fulfill your clear condition.
そのために必要なことは何なりとお申し付けください。
Please give me any order needed to make that a reality.
あ
Alright.
まずはいかがいたしましょう。
Then what shall we do first?
あ、そうだな。今は少し眠っておけ。2時間経つ前に俺が起こしてやる。
Let's see. First, get some sleep. I'll wake you before the 2 hours are up.
しかしそのようなお手間を。
But that would just be a waste of your time.
気にするな。この先は休みなしで働いてもらう。
Don't worry about it. We'll have to work without rest after this.
はい、かしこまりました。
Yes, I understand.
それとお前の PDA は起きるまで借りておくぞ。
Also, lend me your PDA until I wake you up.
はい、どうぞご自由になさってください。
Yes, please use it as you will.
ですが、どうなされるのです？
But why, if I may ask?
この PDA の特殊機能は一種のソナーとして使える。
This PDA special function can be used as a kind of sonar.
半径100メートル以内に他のプレイヤーがいれば教えてくれる。身を守るにはこれ以上優秀な性能は他にないだろう。
It'll let me know if there are any other PDAs within 100 meters. It's the most effective means of protection there is.
そういうことでしたか。さすがは周平様、ご敬眼でございます。
Now I understand. Your insight is as keen as always, Master Shuhei.
やはり私の目に狂いはありませんでした。周平様は我が主としてふさわしい。
I was right. My eyes did not deceive me. You truly are fit to be my master.
ご友人を失ってなお冷静さを失わない強靭な意志をお持ちです。
You have such a tenacious will to have maintained your composure even after the loss of your friend.
吹石様のことは
Miss Fukishi was...
黙れ。
Shut up.
二度とその名前を口にするな。
Never say your name in my face ever again.
いいな。
Got it.
はい、申し訳ございません。
Yes, my apologies. Hitomi shrunk as she looked at Shuhei. I wonder what kind of look I have on my face right now. Shuhei was a little curious about that, but soon enough, he no longer cared.
いつまでそうしているんだ。話は終わっただろ。
How long are you gonna do that? We're done talking.
は
Yes, Master Shuhei.
い、それではお言葉に甘えて先に休ませていただきます。
Then I shall take you up on your offer and get some rest.
ああ。
Good. Once she received the go-ahead from Shuhei, Hitomi leaned against a tree and quickly fell asleep. Shuhei looked down on her. Contrary to her rather avant-garde attitude and astounding combat abilities, her face was as peaceful as an innocent child's as she slept. He'd use her to hunt down and kill the other prime-numbered players. Once she served her purpose, he'd throw her and her transient trust away like a piece of trash.
今のうちにいい夢を見ておくんだな。
Have pleasant dreams while you still can. Shuhei snored slightly with a stone-cold look on his face. Despair. The moment she saw her PDA's clear condition, Hatsune Toda's heart began racing like mad. broke out into cold sweat. This game was no lie or illusion.
初音はまだ死にたくないです。
I don't want to die.
こんなクリア条件絶対に無理なのです。
But this clear condition is totally impossible.
どうして初音ばっかりこんな。
Why are all these bad things happening to me? Large teardrops fell to her PDA screen. Reflected on the slightly scratched LCD was the rule that determined whether Hatsune lived or died. All players except yourself die. That was the new clear condition she'd been handed. Despite it saying all players die, it wasn't like all the other players were going to die if she just sat back and waited. In other words, the implicit meaning of this clear condition was more or less kill all the players. There's no way I can kill someone. But I don't want to die. However, from what you heard from Tsukasa, Kotomi had died last night. She would no longer be there to comfort Hatsune. It was a sad turn of events. But at the same time, a fear akin to impatience that she'd end up the same way now festered in Hatsune. What am I supposed to do? Help me. Help me, Mommy. Mommy, I want to go home. I swear I won't be selfish anymore. Even if I don't like practice, I won't run away from it anymore. So please. Hatsune pressed her PA to her head like she was praying. She knew she wouldn't receive any salvation from that, but instead of salvation, a thought came to Hatsune instead. If Tsukasa ever finds out about my condition, I can't stay with him and Rei anymore. No one would want to be with someone who wants to kill everyone else. Hatsune peeked into the next room to find Tsukasa and Rei talking about Shuhei. They didn't appear to be paying Hatsune much attention. I have to get out of here while I still can. Thinking about what she could do to escape, Hatsune's first thought was using her special function. Her function allowed her to detect other players. It would be smarter to add Tsukasa and Rei as detection targets in order to escape from them. Hatsune turned her PDA volume down to minimum and quickly operated her special function. So I pressed this button and... Huh? An unfamiliar icon was displayed on her special function screen. But she didn't have time to worry about it now. It's okay. I can always check it later. That'll be okay. Anyway, right now I've got... Hatsune added Tsukasa and Rei as detection targets. As she carefully watched the two of them talking, Hatsune snuck over to the window.
レイ、更新されたクリア条件を確認した？
Ray, have you checked your updated clear condition? First thing in the morning, Tsukasa Mitsubayashi asked that to the black-haired girl in front of him, before she had even had any water to drink.
不女子の寝起きの顔を見るとは無礼千万ですね。
It is beyond impudent to watch a fair maiden's face as she is waking up.
司はもう少しデリカシーというものを学ぶべきです。
It would serve you well to learn some tact.
あいにくと僕は男だからね。それよりどうなの？
Hate to break it to you, but I'm a guy, that's just how I am. Anyway, did you do it?
確認はしました。以前に比べ厳しい条件になっています。
Yes, I checked. It's become a harsher condition than before.
そう。まあプレイヤー全員がそうだろうから仕方ないね。
I see. Well, I expect it's the same for the other players as well.
ひとまずみんなで集まって条件の競合を確認しようか。
For now, let's all get together and check if our conditions are compatible.
そうですね。
Good thinking.
ですが競合していた場合はどうします？
But what do we do if they aren't?
それはその時考えるよ。
We'll think about it if that time comes. Tsukasa looked away from Ray. In reality, he already reached a conclusion to a certain extent, but he didn't want her to know. Just then, Ray spoke up from behind.
司、あの人は立ち直れるでしょうか？
Tsukasa, do you think he'll recover?
藤田先輩のこと？
You mean Fujita?
はい。亡くなった女性の方とは親しい間柄だったように見えました。
Yes. It appeared that he and that deceased girl had an intimate relationship.
うん。幼馴染だったって聞いてるよ。
That's correct. I heard they were childhood friends.
藤田先輩にはゲームに生き残ること以上に優先される目的があったんだってさ。
Fujita had a goal he prioritized more in surviving this game.
何の話です？
What are you talking about?
ゲームの初日にね、藤田先輩が言ってたんだ。
It's something he told me on the first day of the game.
もしかしたらそれは彼女のことだったのかもしれない。
Perhaps he was referring to her.
まあ、今となっては確認のしようもないけどね。
Well, it's too late to know for sure at this point.
そうですか。
I see.
大切な人がある日突然消えてしまう辛さは私も痛いほどよくわかります。
I too am bitterly aware of the pain of having someone you hold dear suddenly vanish one day.
弟さんのことだね。
You mean your brother, I take it?
はい。
Yes.
僕には自分以上に大切なものなんてないから、そういう感情はよく理解できないな。
I'll admit, I don't have a very good grasp on what it feels like to value something more than yourself.
だけど、弟さんの敵討ちはとりあえず後回しにした方がいいと思うよ。
But I believe it'd be best to put your quest for revenge on hold for now.
これだけ状況が変わると、まずは自分が生き残ることを優先した方がいい。
With the situation having changed so much, we should prioritize our own survival first.
私の身を案じてくれるのですか？
Are you actually worried about me?
僕はそこまでお人よしじゃないさ。生きて帰るためには君の力が必要なだけだよ。
I'm not that noble of a person. I just need your help to make it through this alive, that's all.
そうですか。司が人の心配をするなんて気味が悪いと思いましたが、子憎らしいままの司で安心しました。
I see. The thought of you worrying about someone else was creepy, so it's a relief to see you're as aggravating as always.
うん、褒め言葉だと思っておくよ。
Yes, I'll just take that as a compliment.
さあ、とりあえずクリア条件について話し合おう。全部それからだ。
Well, anyway, let's talk about our clear conditions. It all starts from there.
そうですね。初音を呼んできます。
You're right. I'll call Hatsune over. Tsukasa sighed when Ray left the room. The second stage turned out to be more or less what he imagined. That part was fine. But when taking the rest of his partner's goals into consideration, he could expect the rest of the game to be considerably risky. It would be best for Ray to give up on her revenge, but Tsukasa had a feeling she wasn't going to let it slide that easily. charge straight forward even if you try to stop her. And worst case scenario, she'd get Tsukasa mixed up in all of it too.
条件が競合していたり、どうしても足を引っ張るような行動を取るようであれば、切るしかないかな。
If our conditions aren't compatible, and she's not intent on taking actions that'll hold me back, I'll have no choice but to cut ties with her. Tsukasa rubbed his scrunched forehead of his right hand and sighed again. However, that sigh was drowned out by the door violently bursting open.
レイ、どうしたんだい？そんなに慌てて。
I mean, sorry, the door's closing. Ray? What's wrong? Why all the panic?
初音が小屋を飛び出していきました。
It's Hatsune! She ran out of the cabin!
レイ、彼女を追いかけて。
Ray, go after her. Now!
了解。
Roger! Ray took off like a gale the moment she entered.
これはこれで予想通りの展開だけど、初音は意外と決断が早かったね。
I expected things would turn out this way, but Hatsune acted much quicker than I'd taken her for.
頑張って集めたパーティーメンバーもこれで見納めかな。
So this is how the party members I worked so hard to assemble fall apart, huh?
案外気に入ってたんだよな。
And to think, I'd actually grown fond of them. Tsukasa held his head and shook it. Then, after taking a moment to compose himself, went off in pursuit after Hatsune and Ray.
初音、止まってください。
Hatsune, please stop!
こっちに来ないで。
Stay away from me!
危ないですよ。もし他のプレイヤーに襲われたらどうするのです。
It's too dangerous! What will you do if another player attacks you?
初音、どうして逃げるのですか。初音。
Hatsune, why are you running away? Hatsune! No matter how many times Rei Makioka called Hatsune's name, the girl didn't stop. Rei had no clue what happened to her. All she knew was what she'd seen, that Hatsune was running away. But after promising the girl that she wouldn't betray her just yesterday, Rei couldn't afford to leave Hatsune alone. Soon enough, Rei cornered Hatsune into a steep cliff.
初音、やっと追いつきました。
Hatsune, I finally caught up to you.
さあ、司のところに戻りましょう、初音。
Come on now, let's go back to Tsukasa. No!
新しいクリア条件に動揺しているのですね。
You're scared because of your new clear condition, yes?
それなら大丈夫です。私と司とみんなで解決策を考えましょう。
That's alright. We'll think of a solution together with Tsukasa.
そうすればきっとみんなで生き残る方法が見つかるはずです。
That way, we should be able to find a way for all of us to survive.
やだ、嫌です。絶対に嫌なのです。
No! No! I can't! I just can't! Lost in her derangement, Hatsune backed towards the cliff.
ほら、こっちへ来てください。
Come on, please come over here.
そのままだと崖から落ちてしまいますよ。
You'll fall off the cliff if you keep going like that. Rei mustered the best smile she could to pacify Hatsune and reach out for her. But at that moment... Rei instinctively jumped out of the way of the knife that had suddenly been thrust at her.
初音、何を。
Hatsune, what are you doing? Stay back! Stay back!
初音、危ないです。やめてください。
Hatsune, watch out! Please stop! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Ray gasped as Hatsune swung the knife while closing in on her. Faced with Hatsune's unexpected agitation, Ray shrunk back with no idea of what to do.
落ち着いてください、ハツネ。
Hatsune, please calm down. Stay back! Die! Die!
ハツネ。
Hatsune cried and screamed as she swung the knife. It was as if she could no longer hear Ray's voice. For Ray, dodging the knife swings themselves was simple. What surprised her more than the attack was how the normally docile Hatsune had changed. Just as she froze for a moment in shock, Hatsune's knife came plunging forward. Die! Reacting to Hatsune's lunge, Ray instinctively thrust her away.
やめてください。
Please stop! Hatsune's small body was sent flying back by Ray's well-trained muscles. She stumbled backwards, staggering towards the edge of the cliff.
ハツネ、危ない。
Hatsune, look out! Ray threw aside his sword and tried to grab Hatsune. But her hand grasped nothing but air. Hatsune fell right towards the bottom of the cliff.
私はなんてことを。
What? What have I done?
ああ、いたいた。こんなところまで走ってきてたの。
Oh, there you are. I didn't think you'd run so far.
あれ、初音はというか。
Huh? Where's Hatsune? Wait. Skusa cut himself off. A moment later, his face paled.
レイ、大丈夫？何があったの？
Ray, are you okay? What happened?
ハツネを私が
Hatsune was... I...
そんなつもりではなかったのに、ハツネがナイフを取り出して。
I didn't mean to. Hatsune took out a knife and...
でも私はただ彼女を助けようと。
But I was just trying to save her.
初音を切ったの？
Did you slash her?
いいえ、突き飛ばしてしまって。
No. I pushed her.
それで彼女は？
And where is she?
崖の下に。
At the bottom of the cliff. Skusa looked toward the cliff. There was no way he wouldn't know what would happen to someone who fell from that height.
初音に抵抗されて不可抗力で反撃してしまった。そんなところかな。
So Hatsune resisted, and you inevitably counterattacked. Is that how it happened?
でも私は
But I...
ハツネはただ錯乱してただけなのに、助けを求めていたはずなのに。
Hatsune was just confused. She just wants someone to help her. I know it, but...
残念なことだけど、あまり気を落としていても仕方ないよ。
It's unfortunate. We can't allow ourselves to lose heart.
僕の予想が正しければ、セカンドステージのクリア条件にはある程度の法則性がある。
If my conjecture is accurate, then the second stage conditions have a level of regularity to them.
多分、僕たちの命が初音のクリア条件に関わっていたんだろうね。
Hatsune's clear condition probably involved our lives in some way.
そうでなければ、彼女が何の相談もせずに小屋から逃げ出したりはしないよ。
Otherwise, she wouldn't have run out of the cabin without saying anything.
それでも、そうだとしても。
But still, even if you're right, that's... Ray clenched her fist so tight that her nails were digging into her palms. But that pain was nothing compared to the fear and suffering that she brought upon Hatsune.
後悔するのはいいけど、大事なのは同じ間違いを繰り返さないことだよ。
Sorry, quick drink break there. There's nothing wrong with regretting it, but what matters most is that we don't make the same mistake again.
僕らだってクリア条件次第じゃ初音と同じようになっていたかもしれないんだ。
Even we might end up the same as Hatsune, depending on our conditions.
だからさ、ほら。
So come on now. Tsukasa picked the sword off the ground and held it to Rei. For a while, Rei just looked at it in silence. Perhaps it was because she'd been holding it that Hatsune became so terrified. Bitter thoughts like that ran through Rei's head. But the boy in front of her was holding that sword out to her. With the same calm eyes as always, reflecting not a hint of fear.
レイ、早く受け取ってくれないかな。重いんだけど。
Rei, could you hurry up and take it? It's heavy.
司。わかりました。
All right. Rei nodded and took the sword. For some reason, it felt much heavier than it had before.
行こう。こうしてる間にも他のプレイヤーたちは次の行動を起こし始めている。
Let's go. The other players are already making their next moves as we speak.
僕らのクリア条件を交換して、これから先のことを考えるんだ。いいね。
We'll exchange our clear conditions and decide what to do next. All right?
はい。
Okay.
僕のクリア条件はこれだ。
This is my clear condition. Once they returned to the mountain cabin, Tsukasa showed his PDA to Rei. It read, 3 players or less, not including yourself, have fulfilled their clear conditions by the end of the game.
ファーストの段階ではクリア条件を満たしたプレイヤーが3人以上だったから内容が真逆になったわけだね。
My condition during the first stage was over 3 players fulfill their clear conditions, so this is the opposite of that.
14人のプレイヤー全員がそうなのかはわからないけど
I don't know if it's the same for all 14 players.
セカンドステージのクリア条件はファーストのものと関連しているのかもしれない。
But maybe our second stage clear conditions are related to our first stage ones.
初音のクリア条件はプレイヤー全員の生存だった。もしこれが反転したとすれば
Hatsune's clear condition called for the survival of all players, so if we reverse that, it'd be
プレイヤーの皆殺し。
the death of all the players.
だとすれば初音が強行に走った気持ちもわからなくはないね。
If that's the case, I can understand why Hatsune took off in such a rush.
初音。
Rei gripped her sheath tightly, causing it to clank. If that were true, then she didn't know what she could have done back there to defuse the situation.
ファーストステージはあくまで前座の茶番。一人目の犠牲者が出てからがゲームの本当の始まりだったんだよ。
The first stage was nothing more than an opening act, a total farce. The first death marked the true start of the game.
だって本来ならフキース先輩が亡くなった時点で初音もクリア条件を満たせなくなって首輪が爆発しているはずなんだ。
It makes sense. Otherwise, Fukishi's death should have caused Hatsune's collar to detonate, since she wouldn't have been able to accomplish it.
だけど初音は死ななかった。セカンドステージに移行してクリア条件が更新されていた。
But Hatsune didn't die. The second stage began, and their clear condition was updated.
なぜ運営はそんな回りくどいことをしたのです。
Why would the administrators resort to such roundabout tactics?
理由はいくつか思いつくけど、まあどうせ連中の考えることだからね。まともな理由じゃないと思うよ。
I can think of several reasons, but these are the administrators we're talking about. I don't think we can expect a sound reason from them.
話を元に戻そう。例のクリア条件を教えてもらえるかな。
Let's get back on topic. Can you tell me your clear condition?
私の条件は これです。
This is mine. Ray's second stage clear condition was the Joker PDA is destroyed. It was still related to the Joker, but the terms had changed from acquire to destroy. Destroying one's PDA in this game was equivalent to killing them. In other words, it forced her to oppose the owner of the Joker.
なるほど。対象者が一人とはいえ面倒そうだね。
I see. So it's still a troubling one, even though you only have one target.
しかし幸いと言うべきか、僕らのクリア条件に競合はない。
But for good or for ill, our clear conditions are still compatible.
僕のクリア条件を達するためには14人のプレイヤーのうち11人の死亡が必須だ。
In order to fulfill my clear condition, 11 of the 14 players must die.
だけど僕はレイを殺すつもりはない。
But I have no intention of killing you.
僕らは引き続きパートナーとしてやっていけるわけだね。
Because we can continue working as partners. Isn't that right?
司はそれでいいのですか？
Are you sure you're okay with that?
何か問題でも？
Why, is there a problem?
私は仲間を崖から突き落としました。
I pushed our teammate off a cliff.
そんな人間と一緒に行動することに抵抗はないのですか？
You really have no qualms working with someone like that?
それはお互い様じゃないかな。
You could say the same about me, couldn't you?
僕が生き残るにはたくさんのプレイヤーの命を犠牲にしなければならない。
I have to sacrifice many players in order to survive.
いざとなれば君を裏切って自分だけ生き残ろうとするかもしれない。
If push comes to shove, I may very well betray you just to save myself.
それでもレイは僕と行動を共にしたいと思うかい？
Do you still want to work with me even after hearing that?
私にもよくわからなくなってしまいました。
I'm not very sure myself anymore.
だけど司は私を殺すつもりはないと言った。今はそれを信じます。
But you said you had no intention of killing me. So I'll trust that for now.
そう。だったらレイの考えがまとまるまでしばらくは仲間でいよう。
I see. Then let's work together until you get your thoughts in order.
その方がお互いのためだろうからね。
That'll probably be more beneficial for the both of us.
はい。
Alright. Ray felt the weight of her sword one more time and nodded. Right, actually I wanted to mention something at this moment. I messed up last stream when I went over Kurokawa's special function. It reveals the location, player name, and player number of all the players who have died so far. I forgot to say the number part. Sorry about that. Alright, anyway, let's continue. For the first time in a while, the abandoned clinic in the village was serving its original purpose. Mitsuru Shirosaki, who found the place that morning, was using it to treat Kurokawa's shoulder.
黒川君、肩の具合はどう？
Kurokawa, how's your shoulder?
痛えっつんだよ、腐ったらが。
The fuck do you think? It hurts like hell, you dumb shit!
クソ、マジで撃ってきやがって。
I can't believe that fucking bitch actually shot me.
でも大した怪我じゃなかったからまだ良かったよね。
But it wasn't a serious injury, so that's still good, isn't it?
だとミツル、てめえ大した怪我じゃないって言うなら一発撃ってやろうが。
The fuck was that? Why don't we try pumping a bullet in you and see if you still think it ain't a serious injury then?
いや、そういうことじゃないよ。
No, that's not what I meant.
ただ痛み分けにしては向こうの被った損害の方が大きいっていうか。
I just meant that for a match that ended in a draw due to injury, the other side ended up far worse than you.
まあくたばりやがった。
Oh yeah, guess that bitch did bite the dust. Kurokawa smirked coldly, muttering, "Serves her right." But Mitsuru didn't feel like smiling about Kotomi. Ever since he saw one of the collars detonate for real, he couldn't get the object strapped around his neck out of his mind.
おい、ミツル。てめえ何さっきから首を気にしてんだよ。
Hey Mitsuru, been playing with your collar for a while. It's fucking annoying.
だって目の前で本当に爆発したし。
But I mean, one of them really blew up right in front of us.
ビビってんじゃねえっつ。
Quit being such a pussy.
要は俺たちは爆発しねえように動けばいい。それだけだ。
All we have to do is make sure our own don't blow up. That's all.
それはそうだけど。
Well, that's true, but...
うだうだ言ってんじゃねえよ、バカ。さっさとクリアする案を考えろ。
Enough bitching, dumbass. Let's get to think of a way to win this game. Kurokawa tossed some dried meat into his mouth and chewed as he ordered Mitsuru around. Mitsuru gave him a sidelong glance, heaved a deep sigh, and decided to go along with the first step.
何にしても変更されたクリア条件を確認しよう。
At any rate, let's check our updated clear conditions.
昨日はそれどころじゃなかったし、黒川君もまだ確認してないんだよね。
You were preoccupied with your injury yesterday, so you still haven't seen yours, right?
ああ。
Yeah.
ちくしょう。こうして話してるとまたあの草がムカついてきた。
Damn it. Just talking about all this is making me piss off at that bitch all over again.
とにかく条件の確認を頼むよ。
Anyway, I'll let you check yours.
うっせえな。分かってよ。
Shut up, I'm doing it.
前半とあんま変わんねえな。
The hell? Mine ain't all that different.
え？本当に？
Wait, really?
クリア条件を満たしたプレイヤーの PDA を4台以上所持するったとよ。
Acquire the PDAs of 4 or more players who've cleared their conditions. Just as he'd said, Kurokawa's PDA displayed that clear condition.
PDA を集める数が1台増えただけじゃね
All that means is I have to get 1 more PDA.
え。ついでにてめえのジョーカーを含めても構わねえって話で。これは逆に楽になるんじゃねえか。
By the way, it seems your Joker ain't an exception this time. So really, it just makes things easier, don't it?
そうだね。あんまり変化してないみたいだ。
You're right. It doesn't seem like it changed all that much. Though Mitsuru said that, in reality, he was thinking harder about Kurokawa's condition. If acquiring PDAs was all there was to it, it wouldn't be a problem, but Kurokawa's condition specifically called for PDAs that fulfilled their clear conditions. However, one felt the player's clear conditions had become rather extreme after the advent of the second stage. In the end, how many of them would actually be able to fulfill their conditions? At first glance, it didn't seem like Kurokawa's new condition was that much more difficult, but on closer inspection, it might be best to assume it was in fact very hard to fulfill. As he continued to analyze the situation, Mitsuru took out his own PDA. With a tinge of anxiety, he checked his clear condition.
で、お前のクリア条件は何だったんだい？
Well, what's your clear condition?
僕、
Huh? Me?
あ？てめえ以外に誰がいるっつんだよ！
The hell? You fucking see anyone else here?
ああ、そうだよね。
Yeah, you're right.
ああ？
Huh?
いや、僕のクリア条件はファーストステージと変わってなかったんだ。だからちょっと驚いて。
Sorry, it's just my clear condition hasn't changed since the first stage, so I was a little surprised.
そんなことありえんのか？
The fuck? Is that even possible?
でも黒川君だって前半と大して変わってなかったでしょ。
Well, yours didn't change all that much either, right?
ああ、それもそうか。
Oh, guess you got a point.
それに、お前の PDA はジョーカーだしな。そういうのもありか。
Besides, you have the Joker PDA, so I guess anything's possible.
もともとコピーした PDA のクリア条件が僕のクリア条件だったからね。
I suppose, considering my clear condition was the clear condition of the PDA you've copied.
ジョーカーの PDA 自体にはクリア条件はなかったし、周りの難易度が上がれば僕の難易度も上がるって話なんじゃないかな。
The Joker PDA itself has no clear condition, so if the clear condition of the PDA I copy is made more difficult, then the same applies to me, I guess.
まあせいぜいクリアしやすいやつをコピーして俺を楽させてくれ。
We'll copy a clear condition that's easy to fulfill. That'll make things easier for me, too.
それなんだけど。
I guess, but about that...
黒川君は仲間を集めないといけないよね。
Won't you mean any more teammates now?
ああそうだな。
Yeah, guess you're right.
でも黒川君は怪我をしている。
But you're injured.
うるせえな。だったらなんだっつうんだよ。
Shut up. So what if I am?
だから僕が交渉して回るよ。
What I'm saying is, I'll go around negotiate with people.
あ
Huh? Kurokov furrowed his brow and scowled at Mitsuru, trying to scope out his true intentions.
てめえが交渉して回るだ
Go around negotiate? You?
黒川君はその体じゃしばらく動けないだろうし、
Well, with an injury like that, you probably should move around for a while.
早めに仲間を集めておかないとクリア条件を満たした瞬間に隠れられる可能性もあるからね。
But if we don't find more teammates now, it's possible people will go into hiding as soon as we fulfill their conditions.
なるほどな。確かにてめえの言うことももっともだ。
Now I get it. Yeah, you've got a point.
よし、行ってこい。
Alright then, get going.
ただし、俺を裏切ったらどうなるか分かってんだろうな。
However, you know what will happen if you stab me in the back, don't you? Kurokov showed off his revolver and smirked at Mitsuru.
分かってるよ。
Yes, I know. Mitsuru bowed his head. He then turned his back to Kurokawa and left the clinic, pocketing his PDA. She was out of breath. She kept tripping over her own feet. Her heart felt like it was going to burst. Though it was a fairly cool morning, she was sweating like crazy. Yui Ogihara felt nausea welling up from her empty stomach. She hadn't eaten since the day before.
Yui-san, 大丈夫?
Yui, are you okay? Mariko, who had been running a short distance ahead, stopped when she noticed Yui's distress.
大丈夫。それよりもっと遠くまで逃げないと。
I'm fine. Anyway, we need to get farther away.
もう限界よ。少し休みましょう。ここしばらく奴が追ってきている様子もないし。
No, you've hit your limit. Let's take a little break. I don't think they'll catch up to us for a while.
はい。
Okay. Mariko took Yui into a nearby cave. The pair hid inside.
辛いだろうけど、くじけちゃダメよ。
I know it's hard, but don't lose hope.
ようやく夜が明けて、自分の居場所がわかるようになってきたんだし、山小屋にも戻れるわ。
Dawn's finally come, and now we can tell where we actually are. We can return to the hut.
早くユーナさんと合流しなきゃ。
Yeah, we need to regroup with Yuna soon. Yui recalled the events that led up to this point. She and Mariko hadn't betrayed Yuna at all. In fact, they hadn't even left the mountain hut on their own will. Last night, while the two of them and Yuna were in the hut, they suddenly heard a gunshot ring out. Yuna told them to stay where they were and went off to investigate. Though Yui and Mariko were worried about Yuna, they stayed in the hut. But a short while later, their PDAs had suddenly rang, followed by a mysterious announcement about the stage upgrading. Yui and Mariko grew even more worried, fearing something had happened to Yuna. But just as the two of them left the hut and were about to go look for Yuna, they were attacked by someone. A hail of bullets descended upon them. Though they couldn't see their assailants, their lives were clearly in danger. Driven by panic, the two had blindly fled into the dusk. But it had gone poorly. They got so caught up in running that they'd gotten lost and couldn't find their way back to the mountain hut. With no other choice, they waited on the mountain all night until the morning finally came again. Just then, they were attacked by a mysterious assailant, yet again, forcing them to flee.
ユナさんのところに戻れば、きっと守ってもらえる。
If we can get back to Yuna, I'm sure she'll protect us.
だけど、山小屋に戻っても、ユナさんに会える保証はないわ。
Yes, but there's no guarantee we'll find Yuna back there.
彼女は今頃山小屋を出て、どこかに行っているかもしれないし。
She might have left the hut and gone off somewhere.
そんな。でも、だったらどうやって私たち二人で生き残るの？
No way. But if you're right, how are we supposed to survive? On the verge of tears, Yui looked to Mariko. Once the second stage had begun, the two of them had been given new conditions. Since her PDA was broken, Yui couldn't check hers. Believing she could, the problem was with Mariko's. After much hesitation, she finally told Yui last night. Death of the partner you spent the most time with. In other words, that meant killing Yuna. There's no way I can do that, but knowing Yuna, maybe she can find a way around it? With those words, Mariko took the frightened Yui with her and ran all the way. Believing Yui, the simple soul she was, couldn't help but feel uneasy about it. Did Mariko really have no intention of killing Yuna? Perhaps she lied about getting lost and was deliberately leading them away from the hut? What if she's trying to get her away from Yuna, weighing her chance to kill her? Those paranoid suspicions rapidly spread as Yui rested. Finally, she spoke up.
マリコさん？
Mariko?
マリコさんは本当にユナさんを殺すつもりはないの？
Do you really have no intention of killing Yuna?
ないわよ。疑うのもわかるけど、それは信じて。
No! I get why you doubt me, but believe me.
私はあの人に命を救われた。私を無条件に仲間として受け入れてくれた。それを裏切るなんて私にはできない。
She saved my life and made me her teammate, no questions asked. I could never betray someone like that.
お願いユイさん、信じて。私たちが他のプレイヤーたちに比べて優位なのは一つだけ。
Please believe me, Yui. We have one advantage over all the other players.
それは互いに信頼があること。ユナさんが繋いでくれた私たちの信頼関係。
It's our trust in each other. The bond of trust Yuna forged between us.
それだけが 私たちの武器なの。だから
That's our only weapon. So... Right then, the two heard a footstep outside the cave. Mariko covered Yui's mouth and peeked outside the cave. A second later, a gunshot rang out. Mariko fell on her backside in shock. A bullet had bored itself into the entrance of the cave next to her face. Yui did everything in her power to suppress the terrified scream that threatened to burst out of her throat. The gunshot was the work of the gun of the assailant that had sent the two fleeing last night. Though the bullet had missed, the two rapidly descended into fear. No matter how much they ran, their enemy kept finding them with pinpoint accuracy.
どうして私たちの居場所がわかるの？わ
How do they know where we are?
からないわね。特殊機能によるものかしら。
I don't know. Maybe it's the work of a special function.
奴がもっと近づいてくれれば、こっちの特殊機能で倒すこともできるんだけど。
But if they get close enough, I can defeat them of my own. Mariko opened her PDA to the special function screen. Written there were the words, "Detonate a collar within 2 meters." It was invincible in close range, but completely useless any farther than that. Just as Yui thought that, there was another gunshot. Another miss. It seemed their assailant only had a general idea of where they were and was firing randomly. Judging from the sound of the gunshot, their enemy was still far away. Though they couldn't see or even hear their voice, it was clear their assailant had an overwhelming advantage. That revelation carried despair along with it. Though their assailant was shooting randomly now, it was only a matter of time before they entered the cave and pinned down their location. If they ran for it, they'd be instantly shot in the back, and even if they retreated further in the cave, they'd be caught eventually. Yui shook as despair gradually consumed her heart.
もうダメ。私たちここで死んじゃうんだ。
We're done for. We're going to die here.
ユーナさんのところに戻れないんだ。
We won't see Yuna ever again. Mariko put her hand on Yui's shoulder.
諦めちゃダメ。ユーナさんが言っていたでしょ。万が一の時は自分で自分の身を守れって。
Don't give up. Remember what Yuna said? You have to protect yourself if it comes down to it.
逃げられないなら戦うのよ。ユーナさんがくれたこれを使って。
If we can't run, then we'll fight. It's time to use what Yuna gave us. Mariko put the PDA in her pocket and pulled out the pistol at her hip. Taken aback, Yui eyed her own pistol.
でも私戦えない。殺し合いなんてできないよ。
But I can't fight. I can't kill someone.
ダメよ。戦わなきゃ殺されるのよ。
You have to. It's kill or be killed.
でも
But... After seeing Yui shake her head violently, Mariko sighed. And after that, her eyes filled with determination.
そうよね。ユイさんはそういうことをできる人じゃない。
That's right. You're not the kind of person who can do this.
だったら仕方ない。私が戦うわ。
Then there's no other choice. I'll fight. Huh?
私ようやく分かったの。口だけの正義じゃ何もならないって。
I finally realized it. Nothing comes of justice backed only by words.
ユーナさんのように自分で行動しなきゃ人の信頼をつかむことなんてできないって。
Just like Yuna, I have to act myself to gain others' trust.
あなたに信じてもらうためにも、ユーナさんのところに帰るためにも、
So you can trust me, and so we can go back to Yuna.
私が奴を。
I'll kill them.
ダメだよ。そうなの危ないよ。マリコさんが。
No, it's too dangerous, Mariko. Another gunshot rang. It was louder than the last one. The assailant was getting closer and closer. Mariko gripped her pistol and smiled.
練習通りにやればなんとかなるはず。生きて二人でユーナさんのところに戻りましょう。
If I do it just like we practice, I should manage. Let's live through this and make it back to Yuna. And with those words, Mariko ran out of the cave.
マリコさん。
Yui's cries were drowned out by gunfire. Alternating shots between Mariko's gun and the assailant's gun shook the air. It sounded like the firefight was even. If Yui backed Mariko up, perhaps they could gain the advantage. But Yui's body wouldn't move no matter what. She shivered like crazy and couldn't put any strength into herself.
マリコさん。マリコさん。死なないで。
Mariko! Don't die, Mariko! Yui hated how she was so pathetic that all she could do was pray. She doubted Mariko. But now Mariko was out there, fighting for the girl who hadn't believed in her. She was like a burning flame to Yui's ember. Here you are hiding away like a coward while Mariko's out there, desperately fighting for the both of us. Are you okay with that?
いや、私だって。
No, Yui's heart burned with meager courage. She gripped her shaking hands around her gun.
私だって。
I can fight too! With that shout, Yui rushed out of the cave. Only to be faced with a roar different from any of the gunshots she'd heard before. There was red everywhere. Mariko was lying on the ground, collapsed.
マリコさん。
All of you... At that moment, Yui's courage and fear was swept away. She instinctively ran over to the bloodstained Mariko.
マリコさん。大丈夫。マリコさん。
Mariko! Hang in there, Mariko! Yui, run away! Mariko coughed up blood. Her entire body was riddled with bullet holes. She'd probably been shot with a shotgun. It seemed their assailant had been hiding another weapon up their sleeve. But none of that mattered to Yui. Her mind was consumed with defeating their enemy so she could treat Mariko. The moment she thought that, she suddenly felt a presence behind her. Right when Yui was about to turn around, she heard something cutting through the air, followed by a shock to the back of her head. Racked with intense pain akin to her skull being cracked open, Yui screamed. She writhed on the ground and held her head as hard as she could, when suddenly someone crossed her line of sight. You... The moment Yui saw her assailant, they raised the butt of their shotgun and swung it down onto Yui's head. Yui's line of sight slanted diagonally. Realizing it was the dizziness before unconsciousness, Yui fought off all she had to stay awake, but couldn't keep herself conscious. Everything before her grew dark, like she was falling into the lowest pits of hell. Yui groaned, struggling through the pain and nausea to keep herself from passing out. But the resistance was all but futile. She would probably be killed just like Mariko. Tears streamed soundlessly from Yui's shut eyes. The intermittent roar of gunfire tormented the wounded body and soul. Having fallen from the cliff, Hasane Otoda dragged her injured body through the forest. Why? Why do all these bad things keep happening to me? Hasane's voice was filled with sorrow and anger at the unjust hand fate had dealt her. After she fell off the cliff, Hasane's body had landed in the trees, and as a result, had miraculously survived with only minor wounds. There were cuts and bruises all over her body, but she wasn't bleeding badly, and her life wasn't in danger. But in the end, could she really call herself lucky? She'd been handed a clear condition nigh impossible to complete, been pushed over a cliff by one of her teammates, and even lost the only knife she had for defense when she'd fallen. What's more, her PDA special function would be absolutely no help in dealing with her cruel clear condition. No matter how she considered it, there was barely any hope of her surviving. In that case, rather than living through this hell of a game, she'd preferred it if she instead died from her fall off the cliff. No more! No more! No more! No one's going to help me. Rei, Tsukasa, they're all enemies. Hasane staggered forward, with no destination. Her mind had suffered wounds so grave that she was nearly at the end of her rope. It wasn't just Shuhei and Komi's lies and Rei pushing her off the cliff that had done this to her. She'd already been exposed to a great atrocity in this game that she was too ashamed to talk to others about. Everything that happened to her since this game had started had pushed her to the edge. After walking for a while longer, Hasane came across an ominous sight. A familiar girl was on the ground, covered in blood. It was Mariko Ueno, one of the first people she'd met, and the girl who'd been hard on Hatsune. Her body was riddled with bullets. There was no doubt that she was dead. Hasane called out to her, but Mariko didn't respond. Her eyes just stared vacantly up at the sky. Mariko was killed too? I'm going to end up just like her. Suddenly, chills ran down Hasane's spine. It was possible that whoever killed Mariko was still nearby. Hasane decided to use her special function to check if the killer was still within 20 meters. However, something caught Hasane's eyes when she checked the screen. An unfamiliar icon had been added to her special function menu at some point. She discovered it earlier before she ran away from Rei and Tsukasa, and decided to check it later. Come to think of it, I never did find out what this is. Hasane quickly tapped the icon. And when she did, what she saw there were words that would influence Hasane's fate like a revelation from God.
目が覚めたか。
So you're awake?
はい。
Yes. After an hour and a half of sleep, Hitomi woke up not by Shuhei Fujita's hand, but by herself. Perhaps her body already understood the tension of only being able to stay in an area for 2 hours.
今後の行動について説明する。
I'll explain her next course of action.
はい。何なりとお申し付けください。
Yes, please order me as you will.
これから俺とお前は別行動をとる。各自担当のエリアを決めてターゲットを探すんだ。
You and I are going to split up now. We each search separate areas for the targets.
ですが、それでは私が周平様をお守りすることができません。
But then I will not be able to protect you, Master Shuhei.
お前が俺の安全を考える必要はない。今は一刻も早くクリア条件を満たすことに専念しろ。
You don't have to worry about my safety. Focus on fulfilling my clear condition as soon as possible.
それが最終的には俺を助けることになる。
That'll help me out in the end.
はい。承知いたしました。
Yes, understood.
まずターゲットは東堂優奈、荻原優衣。この二人は見つけ次第始末しろ。
Our first targets are Yuna Todo and Yui Ogihara. If you find them, take them out.
荻原優衣。その女とは面識がありませんね。
Yui Ogihara. I have never met her.
ああ、そうだったな。
Oh, that's right.
優奈と同じ制服を着た髪の長い女だ。PDA が壊れているから最悪それで判断しろ。
She's a girl with long hair wearing the same uniform as Yuna. Her PDA's broken, so worst case scenario, identify her through that.
承知しました。
Understood.
それ以外のプレイヤーからも情報を集めろ。必要なのは全プレイヤーのナンバーだ。
Gather information from any other players. What we need are all the player numbers.
この状況では他のプレイヤーたちも警戒しています。やすやすと個人情報を漏らすとは思えませんが。
In this situation, the other players will also be on guard. I do not believe they will reveal their personal information so easily.
脅すなり痛めつけるなりして吐かせろ。それでも抵抗するようなら殺してから PDA を奪えばいい。
Threaten them or hurt them if you have to. If they still won't cough it up after that, you can kill them and take their PDAs.
ただしすでにナンバーを把握している上野真理子、伊藤大輔、後浦初音、黒川正樹の4人はターゲットから除外する。
But I already know the player numbers of Mariko Ueno, Daisuke Ito, Hasune Otoda, and Masuki Kurokawa, so those four are none of your targets.
仰せのままに。
As you wish.
それと集合時間を決めておこう。
Also, let's decide on time to rendezvous.
毎日22時にこの場所へ集まって情報交換と成果の報告だ。
We'll gather here at 10 p.m. each day and report what we've learned and done.
何らかの事情で遅れる場合はメールをよこせ。
If for some reason you can't get to the rendezvous point on time, send me an email.
俺が遅れた場合はこの場で待機しろ。戻ってこなければ死んだと思っていい。
If I'm the one who's late, wait here. If I don't come back, assume I've died.
それとゲーム終了の連絡が来た場合にも一旦ここに戻ってこい。
Last, if we receive any word about the end of the game, come back here.
かしこまりました。
Understood. Orders issued without any hesitation, and a maid humbly accepting them. It truly was a picture-perfect exchange between master and servant.
何か質問はあるか？
Do you have any questions?
そうですね。周平様は武器は足りておりますか？
Let me see. Do you have enough weapons, Master Shuhei?
武器か。銃はあるが念のために予備も欲しいな。
Weapons, huh? I have a gun, but I'd like a backup to be safe.
では替えの弾倉と小型拳銃を一つお渡しします。お納めください。
And I shall give you a spare magazine and a pistol. Please accept them. Hitomi took out a magazine and a small pistol from her person. Shuhei took them, put them in his pocket, and turned back to Hitomi.
メモリーチップや武器の扱いはいかがいたしますか？
How would you like to handle memory chips and weapons?
メモリーチップは可能な限り回収しておけ。武器に関してはかさばるものは必要ない。機動力を優先しろ。
Gather as many memory chips as you can. As for weapons, we don't need anything bulky. Prioritize mobility.
はい、そのように。
Yes, as you wish.
他には？
Anything else? Hitomi shook her head and took a step back.
では行け。期待してる。
Then go. I have high hopes for you.
はい。ご期待に添えるよう努めます。周平様もどうかお気をつけて。
Yes, I shall strive to live up to your expectations. Please be careful yourself, Master Shuhei. Those last words, Hitomi disappeared into the forest.
あいつなら大丈夫。
Well, knowing her, she'll probably be fine on her own. Out of all the players he met so far, she was without a doubt one of the most efficient ones. Meaning Shuhei had to act swiftly as well.
全プレイヤーのうち素数は2、3、5、7、ジャック、キングの6人。
Out of all the players, there are 6 prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, Jack, and King.
2の人、5のユイ、ジャックのユーナを除いて残りは3人か。
Not counting Hitomi, Yui, and Yuna, that leaves 3. The nuclear condition Shuhei had been dealt called for the deaths of nearly half the players, a harsh condition indeed. Furthermore, there was one more person Shuhei had to kill.
黒川。
Masaki Kurokawa, the one who led to Hitomi's death. He was the one person Shuhei could not forgive, if no one else.
あいつは必ず俺がこの手で殺す。
I swear I'll kill him with my own two hands. Bloodlust and rage blazed in Shuhei's eyes. Just like his servant, he vanished into the forest.
お前、周平か？
You're Shuhei?
なんだ、大輔か。
Oh, it's you, Daisuke. As Shuhei was searching his assigned areas, he suddenly came across Daisuke, standing in front of a cube that had already been opened.
こんなとこで会うと思わなかったぜ。
I never expected to see you in a place like this.
あの時はよくもまあ俺を置き去りにしてくれたもんだ。
Especially after you went and ditched me like that.
いつの話だ？
When was that?
一昨日の夜だよ。司のところに行った後だ。
2 nights ago, after we saw Skasa.
あの後、俺は黒川ってやつに絡まれて散々な目にあったんだぜ。
After that, I bumped into this asshole named Kurokawa. I went through hell, you know that? Now that Daisuke mentioned it, he had indeed disappeared when Shuhei and Kotomi were being attacked by Hitomi. If Kurokawa had bumped into Daisuke after fleeing from Hitomi, everything fell into place.
そうか。それは悪いことしたな。
I see. That was wrong of me.
まあ、別に根には持っちゃいねえけど。
Well, I'm not holding a grudge or anything.
って、あれ？
Wait, huh?
琴美ちゃんとあのメイドさんは？お前ら一緒に行動してたんだろ？
What happened to Kotomi and that maid? Weren't they with you?
何かあったのか？
Did something happen?
琴美は死んだ。
Kotomi's dead.
は？
What?
それマジで言ってんのか？
Are you serious?
いや、まあセカンドステージになった時運営から死人が出たってメールが来たけど。
Sorry, it's just I got an email from the administrators when the second stage started saying someone had died, but
そうか。あれは琴美ちゃんのことだったのか。
I see. So it was Kotomi, huh? Daisuke looked down, his voice flat. He kicked away a leaf lying on the ground with irritation. Shuhei saw right through that exaggerated gesture, but kept his silence along with Daisuke.
まあどんな経緯でそうなったのかはここじゃ聞かねえけどよ。
Well, I won't ask you how it happened.
あんまり気落ちしないで周辺もクリアを目指せよ。
Just keep your chin up and work to win this game.
お前がここで生き残らないと琴美ちゃんも成仏できないと思う。
After all, Kotomi will never be at peace unless you make it through this.
ああ、もともとそのつもりだ。
Yeah, that was my plan all along.
大輔の方はその後どうなんだ？
So, what happened to you after that?
俺か？
Me?
まあ見ての通りキューブを探してたところなんだけど、
Well, as you can see, I've been looking for cubes.
俺なりにこの先のことを考えてたんだ。
Well, I've been doing something of my own about what comes after this,
こ
too.
の先のこと。
What comes after this, huh?
そっちもクリア条件は変わったよな。
Your clear condition changed too, didn't it?
あ
Yeah.
あ、どんな風に変わったんだ？
In what way? Shuhei winced at that question, which held Daisuke's trademark lack of caution. It seemed he still didn't realize that one wasn't supposed to carelessly reveal important information like that. But on the other hand, judging from his attitude, Shuhei could surmise that either Daisuke's new clear condition wasn't all that difficult, or didn't involve people dying. In that case, now was a good opportunity to get some information.
俺のクリア条件を教えてもいいが、大輔からも情報が欲しい。
I can tell you my clear condition, but I want some information from you too.
ああ、もちろんいいぜ。
Yeah, sure thing.
ナンバー3と7とキングのプレイヤーを知らないか？
Do you know who players 3, 7, and King are?
3と7とキング。
3, 7, and king?
知っていたら教えてくれないか。
If you know them, could you let me know? Could you...
いや、答えてくれ。是が非でも。
No. Tell me. By all means.
お前、そのナンバーのやつを見つけてどうするつもりだよ。
What are you gonna do once you find those players?
そんなこと聞くまでもないだろ。
I think you already know. Shuhei reached down into his uniform pocket and drew out his pistol slightly.
もしもお前がこのナンバーなら。
If you happen to be one of those numbers.
いや違う、俺のナンバーは違うって。
No, you're wrong. None of those are my number.
俺のナンバーは10だ。お前の探してるナンバーじゃねえよ。
My number is 10. I'm not one of the players you're looking for.
嘘は言っていないだろうな。
You better not be lying.
本当だって。ほら、見てみろ。
I'm not, I swear. Here, look for yourself. Daisuke hastily took out his PDA and showed to Shuhei. Displayed on screen was the player number Shuhei had already known he'd see, 10. And Daisuke's new clear condition. Do not allow 3 or more players to get within 2 meters of you at the same time.
なるほど。確かに。
I see. You were right.
嘘なんかつくかよ。こんなところで。
Like hell I'd lie at a time like this.
黙ってたら問答無用で撃ちそうな勢いだったしな。
Look like you're about to shoot me if I didn't say anything. No questions asked.
別にターゲット以外を殺してはいけないとは書いてないからな。
Well, they never said you couldn't kill anyone who wasn't one of your targets.
なんか変わったな。
It feels like you've changed.
そうか。
Really? Shuhei thrust Daisuke's PDA right back at him as the latter wiped the sweat off his forehead.
それじゃ改めて聞くわ。3、7、キングのナンバーの人間を知らないか。
Then let me ask you again. Do you know who players 3, 7, or King are?
いたっけかな。
Do I?
あ、そうだ。確か司がキングだったような気が。
Oh, right. I think Skasa is the king.
なぜお前がそれを知っている？
What? How do you know that?
あいつが仲間と話してるのを盗み聞きしたんだよ。
I overheard him talking to one of his buddies.
そうか。
I see. It sounded fishy to Shuhei, but he decided to accept it anyway. If Daisuke was telling the truth, all was good, and even if he wasn't, it wasn't that big of a problem.
他には？
Any others?
わかんねえよ。俺は基本的に他のプレイヤーと交渉したことねえし。
I don't know. I've basically been avoiding other players.
っていうか、俺のクリア条件見ただろ？
I mean, you saw my clear condition, right?
ゲームの最終日までどこか人気のない場所に隠れていればクリアも同然なんだよ。
If I hide in a deserted place until the last day of the game, I've all but won. Do not allow 3 or more players to get within 2 meters of you at the same time. Oops, sorry. All you had to do to fulfill that condition was avoid contact with the other players and wait until the last day. With a condition as relatively simple as that, it was easy to see why Daisuke had so rashly asked for Shuhei's clear condition.
とりあえず俺は食料を集めて山奥にでもこもるつもりだ。
For now, I'm planning to gather food and hide deep in the mountains.
もう一度周平と会うことがあるならそれはゲームが終わった時だな。
If we ever do see each other again, I guess it'll be when the game ends.
そうだ。
You're right. In the end, Daisuke is about as much worth to Shuhei as a pebble on the side of the road.
分かった。健闘を祈る。
Got it. Good luck to you.
おう。なんか厳しい条件引いちまったみたいだけどお前も頑張れよ。
You too. Sounds like you've drawn a rather harsh condition, but I'll be rooting for you. Daisuke waved to Shuhei as the latter curtly turned around. Shuhei left without another word, never turning back. Okay, I think this will be a good stopping point. So, yeah, with the second stage starting, a lot of people's clear conditions have become much worse, and as we already see, people are dying. We'll have to see where it goes from here, but until next time, I'll see you all later.